Hello, folks. Good afternoon. Welcome to the session number 7. Today, we're going to start with Unit 3. Okay. The Unit 3, what does a conversation class look like? The objectives that we have for this class is to identify those educational activities for teaching and speaking in the classroom, and to identify the most common methods for teaching and speaking in the classroom. You know that the teaching of English nowadays has been changing. Some institutions, some academies are not using the same methods that they used some years ago, the traditional methods. So the purpose of this class and in this session is to know those methods that are the suitable for teaching speaking skills. Okay, that is the objective that we have for today. And I have a question. How do you think that we can have a conversation in English? Do you know that when we say teaching English is all the things that you have to do is talk, talk, and talk. But what happened when you talk in English and your students didn't understand anything? So that's the challenge, right? That's the challenge that we need to face because we need to involve the students in the class. So today I brought to you some educational activities for conversation in class, okay? But before, I would like to listen to you. Why do you think that you need to be prepared for a conversation class? What do you need? Why do you think, okay, that you need to be prepared for a conversation class? Well, in this video, we have it's related to how the conversation class look like, and it says here, teaching a conversation class always sounds like a breeze. Why do not need to prepare for a conversation class? All you have to do is talk, right? True, but it's not as easy as it may sound. As I told you before, it's not easy because you're facing some challenges in the classroom that you need to face it, right? You need to achieve the goals that you have in your class. You might be able to fill the first few classes with random banter about family and the weather, but where do you go from here? To teach an effective conversation class, you do actually have to do a little bit of planning. Of course, we need to be prepared. How? We need to make a lesson plan. You know, the lesson plan, you're going to involve the whole things that you consider are necessary for be taken in that class, okay? For example, if you're going to teach the family members, some years ago, the teacher entered to the classroom, started writing the family members on the board, and after he or she was making a drill. You know that a drill is a kind of exercise, a repetition words. Sorry, repetition words. Nowadays, we don't teach in that way. For example, if you go to whatever public schools to primary education, where are some itinerant English teachers, they prefer to use flashcards, okay? Flashcards and mentioning that the family members. And this is one of the useful and funny way that kids are learning English, in this case, vocabulary, okay? Let's see here. In this one, I recommend to you to, when you got time to watch this video, that it's related to how to have a conversation in English. These people on the video mentioned some tips that we need to have a conversation in English. And one of these one is the mastery of the vocabulary. You know, how much vocabulary you know, how much you will speak, okay? That is the purpose for this video. Then we have this another video. We have getting creative with conversation cards from one-to-one teaching. It's not, as I told you before, it's not the same when you teach vocabulary. You're going to introduce for the first time vocabulary. You write down the words on the board and start repeating. That's not the way that this generation learns English, right? You need to combine different methods. For example, in some previous classes, we were discussing that one of the useful and common method that nowadays teachers are using is the CLT. CLT is communicative language teaching, okay? That you know the purpose for this method is to talk. The student have to talk in English. Another method, and it's so important to take into account, is the direct method or natural approach. This one is that if you're teaching English, teach just in English. Don't combine the two languages. Don't combine your mother tongue and the language that you're teaching. That is the direct method, right? The natural approach. Okay, we're gonna start to speaking in English. The whole class is gonna be in English, but probably at that time, when you're teaching, a student starts getting bored. Why? Because you only talk, and they don't understand anything. So I recommend you to use body language, especially when they don't understand a word. Body language, use realia. Use realia. You can use them, no matter if you don't have flashcards. Imagine you can say, okay, imagine that this student that is close to me, he is my father or she is my mother. But you're using a person, or if you're using a school object, you can use realia. What a teacher needed when he is or she is in the classroom: an eraser, markers, what else? In some cases, computer, data bin, many things. So that you can use. When you show the object in the reality, that is realia. D'accord? Okay, very good. That's where that is not English. It's not English, but I always have that word in mind. Sorry. Let's see here. Here we have the top 5 activities to use in a conversation class. Which are those? Which are those activities that are the most common using in a conversation class? What do you think? For example, let's see here. It says, teaching a conversation class always sounds like a breed. Why do you need to prepare for a conversation class? All you have to do is talk, right? True, but it's not as easy as it may sound. You might be able to fill the first few classes with random banter about family and the weather. But where do you go from here? To teach an effective conversation class, you do actually have to do a little bit of planning. As I told you before, if you are in front of a class, in front of an audience, and you don't have a plan of what you're gonna teach, you will be lost, especially when you don't have experience. That's why we've compiled this list of fun and educational activities for a conversation class. Which do you think? I would like to listen to you. We have a list here, but I would like to listen to you. Which are those? Okay, let's see some of them here. For example, here we have a debate. That is one of the activities, one of the techniques that most of the times is useful to use it at class. Conversation is about more than just talking. It's also about making valid points in a discussion. Teach your students how to do this with a classroom debate. Choose an age and level appropriate topic, and then divide the class into sides. So you need to know the groups, the students that you have, and according to their age and their level, you're gonna choose some topics. Okay, if you are teaching a one-to-one conversation class, let your students choose his or her stance on the topic, and you can argue the opposite side. Give your students time to prepare their opening argument. After presenting and listening to the opposition, each side must offer a rebuttal. So you give your instructions about what the debate consists. Then you can give a short time to them to get prepared, and then they are gonna debate with the whole students. That is one of the techniques. Let's see another one. Okay, we have the phone calls. Conversations on the telephone can be more difficult than conversation in person. Yes, because there are many factors that can interrupt the phone calls. For example, the connection. If you're using, for example, WhatsApp, when you make a phone call by WhatsApp, the connection, the noise that you can listen. On the phone, you can read a person's body language or even gather more clues from the situation. Obviously not. You only hear his or her voice, but you are not seeing if that person is using body language. Instead, you have to rely solely on the spoken word. Make your student practice talking on the phone by putting the chairs back to back or by blindfolding two students. Teach them the correct way to answer a phone, things to say during the conversation, and how to end the call. You can also blindfold one student and choose another student to start talking. Something important. For example, if you're gonna work with telephone calls, first you must introduce the vocabulary used there. Okay, because in this way, when the student have some previous knowledge about the phrases or the words that we can use in a telephone calls, is gonna be much easier for them. Let's see another techniques, another educational activity for a conversation class. We have the celebrity interview. A student all of ages love to make believe. Help your students to expand their conversation skill through interviews. Make your students get into pairs. One student should be the journalist and the other should be a celebrity getting interviewed. This one, if you're gonna use with professions, that can be find when you're gonna introduce, or you have introduced before the professions and you're working with the speaking. That is one of the technique, the good technique, celebrity interviews. Let's see another one. Let's see the number 4. Number 4, we have favorite scenes. Tell your student to get into groups. Each group should choose a scene from one of their favorite movies. Each group member should take on the identity of one of the characters in the film. Now, the students must reenact the scene. Audibly, the dialogues after a practice round, the student can perform for the class. That is another technique, okay? You know that was sometimes we have some favorite ones that you can handle very good and it work with you. Let's see another one, the situational learning. Conversation happen anywhere and everywhere. Your students should be prepared to talk in a number of situations. Yes, this can be suitable for intermediate language level, right? It could be for A2, upper, beginners, and for B1 or B2, that you have some controversial topics or different situations, but you know that a student can speak about it. Questions? You have some questions? Something important when you are working with situational learning is that you need to create a new environment in your classrooms, an interesting environment, because if you only give the instructions and these ones are not given in the right way, and you don't look for some interesting way how they can get what you're saying, the class or the atmosphere in the classroom can be boring. So you need to create a new environment in your classroom. You need to change that, okay? Here we have an example. Turn your classroom into an airport. Assign one student to be working at the check-in counter, one to be the immigration officer, and another student to be the traveler. Now, instruct your student to have conversations, are prepared to the situation they are in. If you are teaching a one-on-one conversation class, you can be the ticket taker and your student can be the traveler. Then you can change roles. You can create a scenario such as at the bank, at school, or buying groceries, on a date, and many more. Something different or some topics that you think that is gonna be interesting for your students. That's why that I told you before that when you're gonna introduce an activity for speaking, you need to know what kind of students you have, because let's suppose that students love science fiction movies, and you start talking about sports and they hate sports. Do you think that the atmosphere that you're gonna create in the classroom is gonna be fun, is gonna be interested? Definitely not. Okay. Questions so far? Okay, just for ending, uh, always keep in mind that the useful method, the most suitable method that we have for teaching English, okay? We have the CLT, you can use TPR, sorry, you can use the direct method, you can use Realia, you can use natural approach. There are many. Even you can combine those, and that is the eclectic approach. You can combine it. Here, I recommend you to read when you got time. This is case number one, teaching conversation in Chile. You will notice there that the way how they teach is totally different. If we compare with our country, with some institution that we have here. And I recommend you to see this video that is related to how to small talk in English, how to learn small talk in English, okay? And you have some practice exercise in this session. If you don't have questions, I only recommend you to study more, because remember that probably now you are not working as an English teacher, but maybe in a future you can change your work if you want, and you're gonna present these challenges that we have here. And if you don't know which methods or techniques you can use, it's gonna be terrible for you. Okay. Thank you, folks. Take care and see you next session. Bye bye. Karen, can you hear me, Karen?